This is not a beginner's Bible quiz. Only true students of the New Testament will master this Gospel of Matthew challenge. Which of these parables illustrating the radical nature of divine forgiveness is found only in the Gospel of Matthew? Matthew's infancy narrative uniquely cites which Old Testament prophecy to explain the Holy Family's flight to Egypt? What is the characteristic phrase Matthew uses over 30 times for God's sovereign rule, a term used sparingly in other Gospels? Which narrative detail surrounding Jesus' resurrection, intended to counter claims of a stolen body, is exclusively reported by Matthew? The eschatological parable emphasizing readiness for the second coming through the story of wise and foolish bridesmaids is found only in Matthew. What is it called? In Matthew's Gospel alone, Jesus explicitly uses the Greek word for church, ecclesia, and gives Simon which foundational new name and role? The symbolic action by Pontius Pilate to disavow responsibility for Jesus' death is a dramatic detail recorded only by Matthew. What was this action? The parable illustrating God's unconventional grace, where all workers receive the same wage regardless of hours worked, is found only in Matthew. It is known as the parable of the Q-Sears. Matthew's genealogy of Jesus is unique for its inclusion of 4 Old Testament women with controversial histories. Which of these women is not mentioned in Matthew's list? The section of the Sermon on the Mount where Jesus intensifies the Mosaic Law with the formula, "You have heard that it was said, but I say to you," is a distinctive feature of Matthew known as Which miracle performed by Jesus to provide money for the temple tax for himself and Peter is recorded only in the Gospel of Matthew? During Jesus' trial before Pilate, a warning is delivered based on a troubling dream. This detail, unique to Matthew, comes from whom? Matthew concludes his infancy narrative by citing a prophecy: he will be called a Nazarene. What is the Old Testament source for this direct quote? The literary structure of Matthew, with its 5 major discourses of Jesus, is often seen as a parallel to what Old Testament collection presenting Jesus as a new Moses? disciples on a mountain in Galilee and giving them what is now known as While Luke's Beatitudes say, "Blessed are you who are poor," Matthew's version provides a crucial spiritual qualification. What is it? Herod's massacre of the infants in Bethlehem is recorded only in Matthew. He connects this event to a prophecy of Rachel weeping for her children, from which prophet? The dramatic final judgment scene where the Son of Man separates humanity as a shepherd, separates the sheep from the goats, is a powerful teaching found exclusively While Luke includes a shorter version, Matthew's Gospel contains a lengthy and severe denunciation of scribes and Pharisees, structured as a series of 7 woes. In which chapter? Matthew's account of Judas Iscariot's end differs from the one in Acts. According to Matthew, what did Judas do? Matthew is the only gospel to explicitly apply which prophetic name from Isaiah, meaning God with us, to Jesus in its infancy narrative? At the moment of Jesus' death on the cross, which of these supernatural events is recorded only in the Gospel of Matthew? Which parable, unique to Matthew, uses the metaphor of wheat and weeds growing together to explain the coexistence of good and evil in the world until the final judgment? Matthew uniquely presents a pair of very short parables illustrating the supreme value of the kingdom. They are the parable of the hidden treasure and the parable of the story of the Magi from the east, their journey following a star, and their adoration of the infant Jesus is a narrative found exclusively in which gospel?